No, I can't. All right, whatever. All right, we're live streaming.
You want me to do the intro?
Let me record. Yeah, you
Oh,
can do you can do the intro. Let me record. I'm gonna record right now.
welcome everybody to Boss Bolshevism. I know it's been a while. Did you miss us? I did. Uh, thanks for being here. Welcome to the episode. I'm your host, Drem.
And I'm your host, Mark Sosolum, also known as Dante, the Lawgiver.
Yeah, that's it. Um, and yeah, today we're going to talk about some. We're back with some topical news. Mostly the big thing on everybody's mind right now is uh, JD John's meeting with President Trump's meeting with uh, Vladimir Putin in Alaska, and how that went. How some people were feeling about that, how others were kind of read that situation. Um, Also, I'm gonna go over maybe some training tips as well for those of you who are here for the training tips, and just whatever else kind of comes to mind. So, without further ado, yeah. So the meeting, um, I've read some articles of specifically headlines, saying uh, I didn't know that it was customary for visiting dignitaries that, like, if you're doing a joint press conference, that the leader of the host country gets to speak first. Apparently, that's not how it went down this time. Apparently, Putin spoke first, and people are really up in arms about that. Um, to which I have to say, I guess, like, yeah, out of courtesy, sure, but like, if you had dirt, I don't understand the defense of it. It's like, look, our president is a pedophile, and our president has been pictured hanging around with pedophiles, and he's like, I don't frankly care. It's kind of like a critical support moment where it's like, yeah, I don't care if another dude is like beating him down. It's not the dude that I'd like to beat him down, like on the world stage, but it's what we've got. This is not a carte blanche defense of Russia or Putin or anything he does or says. But it's like, yeah, dude, like, our president is implicated by multiple countries, and he's so easily blackmailed because everybody knows his fucking business. Um, so I'm not really like, I'm not really bothered by that. It's like he's speed running the end of this empire. Like, I'm not really concerned about how well he's doing. You know, so I don't know. What are your thoughts about it?
So, a fun little tidbit I just found out that I didn't know, specifically about the war in Ukraine, is that Ukraine nationals were responsible for 25% of the Jewish population during the Holocaust, uh, basically being killed by Ukrainians. So now if you understand that, now you understand like why, like, the argument that Ukrainians are Nazis, especially with all the videos out there of their salutes, why all those years it festered in that country, and why the war began, first against the Donbass, and then when Russia decided to invade. Now, related to what Drem is saying, it's really funny that if this is true, he has a copy of the Epstein files that Trump is in basically his pocket yet again, even from his other term. So I think it's very interesting. I wish Putin would release those files. It would be really great to finally, show people that Trump is a pedophile. As Trump said, he was a very, uh, he was a very good friend with Epstein. Having written about him, how his friendship is,
One
and
might
being,
say best friends.
yeah, like best friends, and like being photographed with him many times. So. I think it's I just like I think the Epstein's file should be released. I think the fact that what's her name? Max Giswall.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, that now she has some freedom to move around freely, and she might get a pardon from Trump. It's very telling of the deal they made to basically scrub him out of him being involved in anything with Epstein. So it is what it is. It is what it is. These capitalist, very wealthy individuals, they allow them to become perverts, pedophiles. They get everything in life, and they want to like push it to the limit and engage in this type of disgusting behavior, which again, like even if Trump is not in the Epstein files, like he probably didn't release them because like some of the people involved are maybe his friends. Again, like if he's not
Oh,
involved,
for
but
sure, for sure.
yeah, yeah, and he knows that if he's not involved, right? Like he knows if he released it, like their friends that might have things on Trump himself of other things that could get him what's it called? Uh, what's it called? Impeached.
Mhm.
So I think I think it's very interesting in total.
I think that a lot of people's hangups about the Epstein list, or maybe not hangups is not the right word, but when it comes to the Epstein list, I'll say that Donnie Boy here, like, yeah, he's definitely protecting himself. He's protecting other people to keep the wheels greased or the gears greased, so to speak. But there's also a good bit of Democrats who, I understand or the general consensus nowadays is that like if the Epstein list uh, implicates Bill Clinton, which is very likely. No, not likely. His name is on like the flight logs as well, um, along with other noted celebrities. Is that like okay, then like we don't care. Like yeah, if he's guilty, put him in prison. Like we're not playing this that or they claim that they're not playing this like you know this team like sports game, right? That it's like, oh, if it's our team, it's good. If it's your team, it's bad, type stuff. But then, like in the same breath, people will still like unironically push, um, like Hillary Clinton. That's not like I know she's even disliked amongst Democrats, but you hear whispers still, and you're just like, really, who is this for? You know, like Democrats are just they're the masters of wish casting, and for losers too. It's like you get to be in politics. Apparently, when you reach a high enough level, you get to like constantly fail upwards. It doesn't matter that you ran for president um, and you lost because you ran a fucking terrible campaign. Kamala Harris. Um, you get to you still get rewarded materially and otherwise. I hear people talking about one of the things that came out of the 2020 election, I'm sorry, 2024 election, is now people saying like, oh, we could have had a black woman president, we could have somebody more competent, and it's like, yes, I agree, we could have. The main issue though is, and it's been proven by statistics, been proven by reporting, that it was Kamala Harris's stance on Gaza that cost her the election. She said she went on The View and she told all those hosts when they asked her, "Hey, is there anything that you would do differently from Joe Biden in regards to Gaza?" And and she said, "No, I wouldn't do anything differently." And if that if that doesn't speak volumes to you, if that doesn't speak to you, I don't know what will. But yeah, that cost her the election. A lot of PEPs or progressives, except for Palestine, um, uh, were like, oh, fuck it, like it doesn't matter about Gaza, like she's just better than Trump. And it's like, listen, my brother or sister in Christ, my sibling in Christ, uh, being better than Donald Trump is the lowest bar to clear. Like honestly, a good majority of American, if that's your bar for success in a political campaign, that can apply to hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Okay, that is not a like if you're talking about setting bars, like meaningful bars to clear, or like setting goals for yourself, being better than Donald Trump, it's a small moral victory because it's an easily won moral victory. But that is not enough, not to relitigate this whole thing, but that is not enough um, to fuel a campaign. It's just not. You you have to your whole campaign says I'm better than the other guy. Okay, well, you could be worse than the other guy. What I and a lot of other people are mostly concerned about is, well, what's your policies? Like, what's your policies? I don't want to hear your backstory. I don't want to hear how you grew up, and came, yeah, like a sob story. Like, I will have empathy for you, but I am voting for you. If I'm voting, I'm mostly giving up on electoralism. But if you're vying for my vote, it's like, okay, I'm voting for you. I'm voting you for you to be a president. I'm voting you for being like the chief administrator of almost all things in this country, the majority of things in this country. Uh, so that's going to affect, the people you appoint or elect or nominate, stuff like that. So I need to know before I decide to step foot at my house and cast a ballot for you, that I need to, number one, I need to trust you. I need to hear what you want to put down, the policies you're going to put forward, and then I need to review your history and see, okay, is this really person really about it, or are they just, whispering sweet nothings in my ear? Um, and then do I trust this person to put to stand behind their policies and to actually work through it? Um, or are you going to be just like a Pete Buttigieg, who's like, a mealy mouth centrist who doesn't stand for anything? All he does is speak in corporate double speak and McKinsey consulting language. That's all he knows how to do is um, eat quinoa, speaking McKinsey double speak and lie. To borrow from the name. But yeah, it's endlessly frustrating, endlessly frustrating. So I know we kind of went on a tangent, talking about um, starting off with Trump being a pedophile, meeting with Russia, being implicated because of his ties to Epstein. But yeah, yeah, you don't win against that guy just by being quote unquote better than the guy. It's like it's a low bar to clear. How much better are you than that other guy? Can you convince the rest of the country that you'll give them free healthcare and move it forward, or are your donors, are by nature of the donation system and the people that you talk with, are you already kind of like walking into the fight with the hands tied behind your back? So, um, you know that's yeah. I despise. I have such an ire for those people who's like, oh, we could have had a competent president. Yeah, we could have, but they suck. Their politics suck, and I don't want to hear about. I don't want to hear people pushing them for a rerun in the next. It's like, no, you lost to a very, like, it was very easy to beat this guy and come up with all the excuses that you want. Oh, she only had 107 days to run and stuff, but um, you know, I'll let's say, even if I give you that, your politics were horseshit, and at the end of the day, there's a Democratic base with it. There's a base of voters in this country who are now more than ever concerned way more with policy than they are optics. Like, you could cuss, you could be loud, you could be crass. It doesn't matter, as long as your policies are good. Because who did we have? Who do we have as an example of that being successful? It's Donald Trump. Except, mind you, with the exception being that his policies are fucking terrible. It's just another practice of uh, throwing more wealth, widening the wealth gap and stuff like that. But he's loud, he's crass, he says the wrong shit all the time. Um, you know, you don't have to be. I'm not saying you have to be like him in order to win, not at all. But you could be crass in other ways, like, just cussing. Get over the the politeness, the civility politics of it all, and you can make out a lot better if your politics are good and you stand for something as opposed to just against somebody or something else.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems of the left is the celebrity type of phenomenon that we have with Bernie Sanders, AOC, and now Mundami. Where we are worshiping and thinking that they're gonna do what we think is right, and then like AOC, they sell out, or Bernie Sanders,
She voted. She
sells.
voted to send defensive weapons to Israel, and it's like, and her justification of it was bananas. It was stupid. Like, yeah, like, I can't take that seriously, man. Like, if you're gonna vote, if you're gonna put anybody in office, it has to be like they got to sign a contract or something that says, like, we're not gonna give money or weapons um to Israel. Like, that's a bare
Or,
minimum.
or like Mandami, who wanted to tax more the white people, right? And it's like, okay, so there's no white people in poverty. You
Right.
didn't do a class analysis. Instead, you did a identity politics analysis. And why? Because you're sponsored by DSA. Oh, wow. What a surprise. Again, AOC sponsored by DSA. DSA being even science itself, and just becoming its own enemy within. I mean, again, like, these are social democrats, right? These are not socialists or whatever. Democrat socialists, same thing as social democrats. They're like the same thing as progressives, where they're okay with capitalism as long as there are reforms for capitalisms
Yeah.
and like policies for capitalism. That's not revolutionary at all. That's
There's a lot
centrism.
of Yeah, there's a lot of liberals, like, LARPing as like revolutionaries, and someone said it best in one of our group chats, that liberals use the term revisionism, like the term revisionist, for for a liberal is like the closest thing to like revolutionary for them. It gives them the feeling of being revolutionary without any of the like doing any of the actual work or actually having revolutionary thoughts, ideas, policies, positions. It's LARPing in its truest form. It really is. And it needs to be called out more. It needs to be squashed. Like the fact that DSA has even that minority of like Zionists in it. I'm sorry. That's to me that is unacceptable. Like, yes, it's good that they passed. They can't. I think it had to do with like they can they won't como se dice they won't support or put forward any candidates that support Zionism, like any not like no pro Zionist candidates, but like that's still, I think it was like 45% or something. It was in the 40s percent where people still were like, oh no, we like they still supported Zionism, and it's like I can't take you seriously as a group, even though the anti-Zionist faction went out. Like, I'm sorry, that just it's kind of like with the with the RRC, it's mostly Marxist Leninist. It's almost exclusively Marxist Leninist, because they understand that anarchists are liberals and they're not really helpful to the cause. And it's not just us that says it; it's the FBI and the CIA as well. Um, so there's that.
Well, well, if we're talking about anarchists, just look at what they did in the protest against ICE in LA. Like, I understand, like, there needs to be some spontaneity in protest, but the way it was, like, I mean, they could have organized better. I know, like, people are not like a hive mind, and they all know each other before the protest. But they could have, through a Marxist leadership, or a vanguard, organized better into those protests, which became really ridiculous. Um, on top of that, like, I do want to talk about the fact, it's been going on for a long time, but we haven't done the podcast in a long time.
Hmm.
I'm really like looking at the internet, and I know, like, the internet, in a sense, is it's a way, anonymity. It's a way for people to really speak out what they think, and people are just like laughing and just like just laughing at the fact that people are getting uh, ambushed by ICE. Families are getting broken up. Many of these immigrants have not done any criminal, or have not have any criminal past. But again, the conservatives say, "Oh, but they're criminals because they came to this country illegally, even though it's a civil infraction. It's legally a civil infraction. It's not a criminal offense." And
Yeah.
now with Alcatraz, alligator Alcatraz, and the conditions that alligator Alcatraz is in, and the way people are like being literally in a concentration camps of Latinos, and they said they were going to build more, speaks true to the word of the fascism. And I know, like, if a conservative is watching, they're going to roll their eyes. Oh, fascism being thrown around again like nothing. Well, this is little fascism. This is
Hmm.
little fascism. This is what Hitler did to the Jews in the beginning. They deported them. Like, even made deals with Israel to get the Jews to Israel, and leave them there. And these are the beginnings of what's to come, and we need to prepare as a society to resist against this type of injustice being done on. You hear about, like, people at Home Depot like being arrested, like hard, like workers, working class people, like people in like their little like corners, like selling food, like those are people being arrested and like and like in the beginning they were being sent to what is that prison called?
Alligator Alcatraz or
No,
CCOT.
CCOT, yeah, like
Yeah.
CCOT with MS-13s, actual criminals, like actual gang members who can jump them, and they're all in a cell. There's like 40 of them or 50 of them in one cell. Like,
Yeah, it's
what kind of?
atrocious conditions. Like, even if you are a criminal, you still have human rights. I know that's difficult for a lot of people to understand that, like, yes, you do bad things, but it's, for example, it's my opinion that whatever you allow the state to do to a person or to do to any one person, they will eventually do to you. We are not, that being said, we're not in a system that like rehabilitates anybody. We have high recidivism rates because going to jail is not, um, it's not a rehabilitation clinic. It's in fact it, people will who go there innocent often, sometimes because of their treatment there and because of their experience there, will leave much worse and may even end up becoming criminals, despite being, innocent and stuff. So, but that being said, yeah, the conditions are bad even for the innocent people, or rather for the criminals. So, and they really don't treat the innocent all that much different. Um, you know, and let us also remember that Auschwitz was not in Germany. It was outside of Germany, in Poland, I believe. Um, or was that Birkenau? I I'm spacing right now. But it was, the point is it wasn't in Germany. They outsourced their jail, their encampments to other countries, and we're doing the same thing. And to add to that, I know it's, beating a dead horse to compare our current times to 1930s and 1940s Germany. But I would like to remind our listeners as well and our viewers that Nazi Germany got their ideas for for extermination from us. They saw what we did to the Native Americans, and this is very well documented. You can go look it up. Uh, Papers from German soldiers and like high command. They got the idea for. They got the inspiration for their uh, to carry out the Holocaust and for the treatment of Jews inside Germany, based on our Jim Crow laws and our treatment of the native population when the white settlers were colonizing this country. So, you know, this is when they say like, "Oh, we're following the Nazi German playbook." It's like, no, we wrote the playbook. We're the original authors. They copied our homework. We we turn in the paper. We turn in the first draft, the first few drafts, as a matter of fact. So, like, while I understand the point that people try to make when they make those comparisons, let's also be real with ourselves. This has always been what our country has been about and what it's always done. This is no different. It's just I think a lot of us are having grown up thinking that we were going to, or not going to witness the end of the empire in our lifetimes, or at least it wouldn't be during like our prime years or what have you. We're now having to come to terms with that. And, say what you will, there's some people who might be in denial about that, but it's here. It's here, folks. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, like one of the things that another things that people get wrong is that we shit on capitalism so much, but in truth is in its time, capitalism was revolutionary. It was a revolutionary uh, distinction from feudalism, where
Hmm.
people, you know, worship a king. They worked for, barely any little money. They had serfs and stuff like that. Um, the problem is when the monopoly started beginning, the banks and the country started becoming into a monopolized system, and imperialism grew out of it, where a country like the United States could, World War II, after World War II, became very rich due to its monopoly and in a prison industrial complex where we built weapons for the Europeans and all the countries that were being attacked by Hitler, and we made profit from the industrial side. It's that point where the United States decided to go to wars, Vietnam, Iraq, instill their own ideals on these countries, and become the hegemony of the world when the Soviet Union collapsed.
Hmm.
That is the problem, because this is now capitalism in decay. It's becoming
Yeah.
capitalism in decay and forming, capitalism being the roots and the flower being fascism, forming into fascism and straight fascism. This is why we must go uh, into socialism, prevent or fight off fascism, and go into the next stage of the evolution.
Yeah. The question Rosa Luxemburg, um, you know, her posed many, many years ago was, or the statement she made was, it's either barbarism or socialism. And I've been thinking about this a lot, but I truly think that, um, people in general, um, a good majority of us have quite literally and figuratively elected for barbarism. We have the imperial boomerang is coming, is kind of coming home, is coming back. The frontier is coming back to haunt us, hurt us. Palestinians were having to deal with roving gangs of settlers and armed military and police personnel, fucking around with them. And now that's what ICE is doing to, regular citizens. I saw a report today about a gentleman who was racially profiled by ICE. He was, he, at least to me, he didn't look all too Hispanic, but of course, it doesn't matter to ICE. They will make up, they'll say, "Oh, you look a little too brown for my liking. I'm gonna like illegally search your car and try to pin you for like marijuana, even though it's legal in the state of California." And the guy the interviewer ended up asking the guy like, "Hey, did you vote for Trump?" He's like, "Yeah, I did." Um, because of course, because they believe the immigration policy, and that's the thing with all these people, right? They, especially with the immigrants who voted for them, they think, oh, they're going to take the bad immigrants and it's going to make everything better. And it's like, dude, to the people that you voted for, you're a bad immigrant, not because it's not because you're a bad person. You're bad because you're an immigrant. You're not the right kind of immigrant. The fact that they let you in here is an insult to them, or they perceive it as such. They think of this as everything's about identity. Like for as much as the right likes to complain about identity politics, they use identity politics the most. They use race baiting. They constantly demean and smear other minorities because they think, it's truly a fascist mentality. the enemy is simultaneously strong and weak at the same time. It's like, oh, these Mexicans, they're they're taking all the jobs, but they're simultaneously taking every single job, every single job you think of a job, they're taking it. But then they're also like lazy and living off welfare, and it's like, well, which one is it, my guy? Pick a lane, because if they're all doing one thing, they can't all be doing the other, and vice versa. Um, but that's the thing about fascism as well. It's not a coherent ideology. You can have There are fascists and white nationalists who will make alliances um, with other minority parties or other minority groups, and minority groups that will help them out, thinking that they will be shielded from the violence or from that they will be they're pygmies. They'll be one of the good ones. They'll be considered one of the good ones by these exclusionary practices and ideologies, without ever seeing it through. Like, these people do not think this through, and oftentimes this is what happens. So he gets stopped by ICE. He gets racially profiled by ICE. They fortunately let him go, but not after harassing him and threatening to, like, hey, we could have fucked up your day a little bit more if we wanted to, kind of deal. And it's like, okay, well, thanks for that, I guess. And then at the end of it, his interviewer was like, hey, do you regret your vote? Um, and surprisingly, the guy said, yeah, actually, I do. I feel ashamed. I feel like wronged. I feel angry. Uh, and it was one of the few times where I'd seen it. But that's kind of how politics runs in this country. It's you don't really care about the negative consequences or effects of the policy that you voted for until it comes, until it's turns its head and points to you. You're affected personally. It's
remember, I remember, folks, this is, even coming from the George Floyd times. If uh, if a van pulls up with a bunch of people in black outfits, not signifying anything of police or anything like that, you have the right to defend yourself. So, uh, if ICE wants to take me up on that, they can visit my house. I can show them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you are absolutely correct. If you do not, a lot of these ICE officers, and a lot of civilians are. There's been a lot of cases, for example, of um, because ICE officers are now infamous um, for not identifying themselves. They um, their regular civilians are dressing up as ICE officials, targeting minority communities and kidnapping them. They oftentimes these kidnappings are oftentimes are also end in sexual assault or rape, and it's and then only later do they get like caught and reprimanded. But at that point, it's a very real thing, um, and it's almost like you know it's almost like being transparent helps everybody, right? If I get stopped by a police officer, he should be able to identify themselves. They should be able to give me a badge number. I should be able to know how to identify this person, and they should be able to identify themselves to me, so that I know that this is hypothetically speaking, that this is um, a legitimate interaction with legitimate law enforcement. You know, but if they don't, if somebody comes dressed in what I'm wearing, a balaclava, and they've got a vest, they've got patches that say ICE. You can get that shit super cheap, by the way. It's not that difficult. You don't even have to put plates in your plate carrier. You can dress up like, Tactical Timmy, put ice on your chest, an ice badge on your chest, and go around in a truck or van and pick people you deem, easy victims. And these people are doing it, and they're doing it because we've become the ICE have become Gestapo. They've become secret police, and if someone approaches you and they don't identify themselves as law enforcement, they don't identify themselves. Period. You have every right to defend yourself, up to and including the point of unaliving the other person, if it comes to that. Because at that point, your life is in danger. You don't know who that person is. You don't know what their intentions are. They've not identified themselves. That is a threat. Point blank, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Doesn't matter if you think they're ICE, if they don't, or rather, if whether they are or aren't, it's their responsibility to identify themselves to you. If they don't, plausible deniability, plausible deniability. You know, they have every chance available. Um, they have everything going for them. They have every advantage. So, I don't want to hear them cry foul when they get uh, when they get Luigi. I'm not going to shed one single tear. So we are under occupation and have been for quite a while. Um, and this is just how people are dealing with it. And we're encouraging you to defend yourself.
Yeah, like it's funny how I interact with some people on YouTube. After a while, like, and I don't want to say the game, right? Because like the game's like consider like, drug dealing and stuff like that. But in the community, right? I can recognize an actual Nazi, like not calling like just any conservative a Nazi, an actual Nazi, and I call them out for it, and they'll be like they won't deny it. They won't deny it. They'll just like laugh it off, and it's like. These people are showing their face, and not only that, even people that are not necessarily Nazis, and not necessarily all right, again, conservatives, laughing and showing like the true colors of how they are against other people, just because, they want, uh, they believe in the sacred, like, oh, you came here illegally, like it's the worst thing that you could have done. As you said, like you're taking our jobs and all that stuff, while the people getting arrested are people in Home Depot, people again, like giving food to people, like selling food to people, agricultures, like, I recently moved into a new house, and before Trump took presidency, there was a lot of immigrants like working in construction, and then my house, was supposed to be ready at a certain date, and we had to wait a month more because of what was happening. And there was when we moved in, there was a house that next door that wasn't constructed yet, and I swear to you, not like it was only like one or two people working on the house, like the whole house, like just one or two people, like
Mhm.
basically become barren land, and a lot of these jobs, like I know this is a common argument, right? But it is a true one. A lot of these jobs, the Americans, like the European Anglo-Saxon, Irish, Italian Americans, like they don't want to work these jobs. They don't want to work construction in the heat right now in fucking 110 degrees. They don't want to be agriculturists, like same thing. They don't want to
And
be
even if they
selling like
did,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but even if they did, they do not want to be doing it for the shit pay that some of these people receive. Like,
Yeah,
if you never worked construction, like the working conditions aside, like some of these people are paying like you could literally earn more like flipping burgers at McDonald's. And but this country loves underpaying its workers. And I'm not just talking about the workers that like the farm workers and the construction workers and that stuff. Although I understand you can make a lot of money in construction as well. But that point aside, um, whatever, any job, any field that you're in, like think about what you're making. You could be making so much more, but your boss, the company just doesn't. They're selling, they are reaping all your surplus value. You're getting, you're getting, a fraction of that, a fraction of a fraction of that. And that's just, Mark was right, continues to be right, and will always be right. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, they don't want to do these, they don't want to do these jobs for that pay, and they're right to. Yeah, there's because that pay does not cover cost of living, does not cover groceries, especially with inflation now. Like a lot of people are like inflation is on meats going through the roof. This summer alone, I've seen prices almost double uh, on meat. It's insane, and it's only going to get more expensive. The tariffs are a fucking failure, and the pay that we're receiving for our the pay we're receiving for our jobs right now is not enough to hold us over. It's not keeping up with inflation. Everything's in downfall, and there will likely be, it's affecting everything. There will likely be a massive recession or massive depression in the coming, if not the end of this year, in the coming year or so. As much as I try, I stay away from making predictions, but yeah, like if you don't have any money to spend, it doesn't help the economy. The economy stagnates. Inflation continues to go up because tariffs are fucking it up. And yeah, you're not paying enough people. Capitalism is a snake eating its own tail. It's just, yeah, it's
Well,
insane.
well, the problem is that, like we changed our system of, I guess, like exchange, right? We went from, like, simple things like bartering items and stuff like that to, and this is not a complete timeline, but to, like, the gold standard and the silver standard. And
Mhm.
now, these banks create these banknotes as much as they want, and control the money supply, and create so much that creates debt within the country and creates this inflation, which the banknotes are directly correlated to the credit card that people have, that are able to convert into that into the surplus money, depending upon if the people are paying or not,
Mhm.
and this circular motion going around of this money exchange is creating inflation. Apart from that, like we all know this, like, if gasoline goes up, everything goes up.
Mhm.
Again, related to the amount of money that the banks are creating within the country. And I'm sorry, it's not necessarily the bank; it's the Federal Reserve that is doing this, and it also is dependent upon the economy, and how much people are spending into the economy, and if people are not spending, the enough amount, this creates, again, a more rise in prices. Um, so it's a system that is not very well constructed into creating a stable economic environment, and creating these stressors to people, where they have to, buy eggs more expensive, or they won't buy the eggs,
Mhm.
cut down a lot of stuff. And it's a problem that needs to be fixed. Even within,
Yeah.
like, I'm not even saying, like, I'm not even saying like socialism, like even within capitalism, it could be fixed. But, again, we have this mentality of free markets, where we don't have free markets. We actually have, I don't know what the exact word is. It's not policies. We have like things holding down the free markets, like I guess like policies and stuff like that. So uh, this free market doesn't exist, and
Yeah.
and the evidence is the douchebag from Argentina, the president.
Oh, Javier Milei.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that guy. He's so dumb. Like
He,
he's
he created he endorsed a crypto a meme coin, and like people lost money and they were gonna impeach him. I don't I'm guessing they didn't impeach him because I didn't hear anything about it, but they were gonna impeach him because of that. This was a long time ago.
yeah. I think it was either the start of this year or the start of last year. And dude, I don't know how they didn't like rush the Capitol and do a French Revolution on the guy. But it's also really difficult. I'm asking for anarchist solutions to systemic problems, which is to say, like spontaneity will not save us. You have to be disciplined. Um, you have to be deliberate, um, and you have to be uh, disciplined, deliberate, and you got to be patient as well. Um,
It's the same thing with cryptocurrency, right? Like, it's not beholden by any standard or gold standard or anything like that. It's just beholden upon a market. And before that, before there was a market for cryptocurrency, it was beholden against an algorithm, and the amount of people mining the cryptocurrency is this crisis of separation that there is in this country with the currency system.
yeah, sure enough. Anyway, enough about haranguing about.
Wait,
Iran.
what are we going to talk about next?
Oh, I was gonna say let's talk about some training tips for
Be-
our.
Before
Yeah.
before we do that, just a little light, content. Did I tell you about my watch that I got?
Partially, I think he told me what it was called, and it did like I've been into watches, so I kind of like knew more or less what it was. But feel free, dude. Tell him about it.
Yeah, so everybody out there, we love the Casios, especially the G-Shocks. This is the Casio G-Shock Rangeman. If you don't know about Casio, they create watches of all prices, $17, $30, $80. And they're all like beneficial. They all have their functions. They that you can use instead of just having just a watch that it just tells times. It's I'm a very I like to say that I'm not a watch collector. I'm a Casio watch collector. So this one right here was on the expensive side, but compared to other watches, not so expensive. And it has a barometer which tells the weather. It's uh it's measured by I'm gonna be real. I don't remember the acronym for it, but I put the American measurement. I had the international measurement, and basically like if it's 29.90 right now, meaning that if it's 30, it's clear skies. If it's less than 29, like 28 or 27, it's gonna like rain. So 29.90 is in between that. It tells the Fahrenheit. It says right now here is 83.4. It has a altimeter, the altitude that you're currently in, and I'm currently in zero because I'm in Florida, and
Mhm.
we're below sea level. Um,
Right.
And then there's a compass, which tells you exactly like a compass, like tells you where
It does compass things.
that's compassing. So I really
Yeah,
love I really love this watch. I think I'm still gonna collect Casios, you know, but
they're
mainly
good
like cheap.
watches, man. And
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, they're just that they're great watches. I have one or two. I've owned one or two Casios. I had um, they call it I think they call it uh, um, uh, the Casio. Like it's the Casio. Basically, it's called the Baby Marlin, but it performs as well as like a Rolex. It's like a black base. It's got a Marlin on it, and it has the same specs as a as a more expensive Rolex. Like I can take it. It is a diving watch. The only thing I think that beats it out is that it's cheaper and or like the price difference is like $5 or $10 is the Vostok um, Komandersky. Although I think that one might be actually more expensive than the Marlin. But you can pay $50. I think it might be a little bit more now. But you could pay $50 for a baby Marlin Casio, um, and yeah, that thing works super well. Very, you could take it swimming, diving. Um, it runs super well. I've never had to change a battery on mine yet. I actually had to accidentally drop mine and had to get a replacement. I asked for the replacement for as a Christmas present. So
Oh,
and then you can
it wasn't a G-Shock version?
that one was not a G Shock. No, that one is yeah. So that one was a it's a more traditional looking like watch face and watch type. But I did have another. There was another G Shock type that I did wear before this one, where it's like it's all black. I went for the very tactical look, which sometimes is cringe and sometimes is not. I'm choosing to say that it's not this time, and you can't say anything, listeners, because it's our show. So
Casio's never cringe. It's never cringe.
Casio Casio's never cringe. Casio
Is it
is the
working class watch?
working class watch. The AR-15 is the working class is the working class rifle. Casio is a working class watch. So we're gonna make a list of this and release it later this week. Stay tuned. It's gonna be branded. We're hoping to get Casio to sponsor it. Who knows? Who knows? Casio, if you're listening, talk to us. We'll be in touch. You know how to reach us, or don't? Maybe.
If you sponsor us, I'll buy all your watches and put them on the podcast every week.
Casio, if you sponsor us, we will sign a contract that obligates us to wear a minimum of three watches um, on one of our on us at all times. So like one or two on each on hand. But contractually, free advertising. Just saying. But yeah, no, the solar ones are great. The battery operated ones are great. They last super long. Can't say enough good about it, dude. So, um, but anyway, transitioning to the training portion, this is gonna be our last bit of the night, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just gonna leave it to Drem up to this part because he's the expert.
uh, Thank you, my boy. So when it comes to training, drive by your training. I always tell people it's like my mantra at this point. You can do 90, let's say 92% of the, or 93, let's call it 95% of the, um, of the muscle control of the practice that you need to become proficient in firearms. at home with an empty firearm. Just doing dry fire training, trigger control, sight alignment, sight picture, all that stuff you can do at home. You don't need to spend a lot of money on. You don't need to spend a lot of money on firearms or ammo. Uh, what the range is good for, what the range is good for, is um, is practicing recoil control or recoil mitigation, because you can't do that at home unless you have your own private range. In which case, please DM me so I can come visit and we can learn a thing or two. That's cool as hell. But I know not many people have that. If you're listening to us, you're probably working class and um, don't have access to a lot of funds to build an interior gun range, an indoor gun range, um, much less be able to rent or afford a house. So that may be asking too much. In that case, uh, doing a dry fire training is very beneficial to the point that um, let's say you do it for a week or 2 weeks consistently, even if not, we're talking about 10, 10 to 15 minutes a day of just regular dry fire practice um, for like 2 weeks is enough to, and then you take it to the range. That's enough to make you um, it's enough to lock some things down, especially if you're doing it right. It's harder to do because when you don't have a, a trained person correcting you or directing you to do things the right way or the wrong way. But there's enough stuff. I'm not going to gatekeep this stuff. There's enough videos on YouTube. There's enough training videos out there already that teach you how to do it properly. But if you're like me, yeah, you also kind of want someone there telling you, like, okay, you did this right, you did this right, but this was wrong, and then tell you how to do it properly. Uh, that being said, so dry fire practice, very important. And then the other thing that the range can do is you can shoot and move in an outdoor range. In an indoor range, unless it's set up in um, I mean, you can some indoor ranges uh, will set up their lanes for they'll have events inside where you can go past the lane markers or the firing line, so to speak, and they'll have indoor shooting events that kind of look like an outdoor range event. So it's very cool. Um, and you learn recoil mitigation, learn how to shoot and move, and how to, just manipulate your firearm. The fundamentals that you do in the training in your house, in your dry fire training, certainly apply to and will translate to better control of your firearm in that space. And yeah, so that's all I have. If you guys have any uh, requests or suggestions um, for how you would like to, for what to train specifically, you could do. There's target transition drills. There's El Presidente. There's um, shoot and reload drills. There's a number of ways to train. But my recommendation, um, if you're a leftist who wants to get in a gun, but don't know too many people who share your proclivity for leftism, or your proclivity for firearms, and your proclivity for firearms, try joining them together. See how that, reach out, touch some grass, and meet some people. I know it's easier said than done these days, but it doesn't have to be big steps. You can take small steps. Join, you can kind of suss out some what good teachers and good firearm people in the firearm community with good politics. They're few and far between. I know I've been there, um, but who knows? Maybe we can put together a list of people who are, I we can put together a list, but I know there's lists out there like that already exist of like queer friendly and minority friendly shooting instructors um, who um, make it a point to have their teaching spaces accessible to those underserved groups. So Operation Blazing Sword is one. I know that there's National African American Shooters Association is another one, or gun owners. I forget the acronym right now, but there's so many you can look at and look for. The RRC is one, um, and the SRA does like depending. It does the SRA is more like chapter dependent. You can find some good people, but there's people out there. And if you're a leftist who wants to get into guns, yeah, just there's more of us out there now than there were. We're still small, but we're out there. You can find us. You got any questions? Any training tips you want to get addressed here?
I think from my perspective is that if you're training and it's the first time training, first don't be intimidated by drills. I had that problem for a while, and I didn't do them because of it. But once I started doing drills, even though I wasn't, perfect, because sometimes we all want to be perfect, even though I wasn't perfect and I was committing mistakes. And you can even see in my own channel that I put some drills that I've done where people are just like bashing on me, saying like, why are you like shaking and all that stuff, which is because I have tremors. Don't be intimidated by them. They're gonna very effectively like improve your skills by far. And always like keep a positive head if you didn't do that well, because if you keep at it, you again will get better at shooting. Because the truth of the matter is, depending on the self-defense situation, you might need to run, you might need to shoot standing from your car, not standing, I'm sorry, sitting from your car, which maybe you haven't shot while sitting down. Or the even the fact that there's a windshield that causes the bullet to go not the way you want it, but to a different angle, depending on how you shoot it. So just uh take
There are so many
yeah.
factors that you may not take into account during that kind of engagement. Yeah,
Yeah, so keep at it, keep training, and you will get better. That's all I got.
yeah. Although there is such a thing as like naturally gifted people, um, you
No,
know,
those don't exist.
yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm dumb. I shouldn't have said anything. um, there are some people who have less issue picking up skills and adopting these disciplines than others. Um, Lord knows I was not great starting out. I didn't have the coordination that I do now. I could always be better, but I'm much better now than I was back then. And all I have to thank for that is consistency. It is shooting is a perishable skill, so you have to keep at it. It's a lot like working out. There's a lot less stress on the body. You're not picking up weights or going for long walks or jogs or doing intensive cardio or anything. But it still is a skill. You need to develop the neural pathways in your brain to better react and better engage your targets. Because the other bit that kind of goes not unsaid, but I like to remind people is that your worst day in training is your best day out in the field. What does that mean? Shortly, um, when you're in an under a lot when you're under stress, um, or under duress, uh, your fine motor skills are usually the first ones to go. Um, so trigger actuation, side alignment, sight picture, it might not be it might not be 100%. You cannot dictate to your brain to react like you would as if nothing was happening. That takes a lot of training. That requires you to be stressed and train through that. Um, that kind of training is available to civilians. Uh, it's but because most of us are working class, it's slightly cost prohibitive. But yeah, you will need to your worst day of shooting in the range in a static range will be your best day out in the field. Uh, my hope is that no one ever who listens to us or watches us never has to encounter or be in a situation where they have to rely on their self defense skills. But ideal that's the ideal scenario. But that's not the world we live in, and not to fearmonger, but one should be prepared if they can be. And when it comes to firearms, uh, more practice is better. Uh, and sometimes you have to pick up the gun to put down the gun. As I believe it was that Mao or was that um, the other fellow?
You're talking about Huey P. Newton?
Huey P. Newton. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm attributing it to Mao. Huey P. Newton says
Because,
you get a
because sorry to cut you off. Because Mao talks about like something I don't remember the exact quote, but he says like the most powerful thing is like the gun or something like that. That's what Mao
oh,
says. But
political
he,
power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so that's where that made sense. Okay, yeah. So folks, train regularly, do dry fire practice, and when you can, and when you can afford to, go out to the range and train that. Um, um, yeah. So that's all I got for you. Thank you all for listening to us today. We're glad to be back. We're hoping to be more consistent um, going forward and getting more videos out to you. So thanks again. You've been listening to Mob Boss Bolshevism. This is Drem.
I'm Marxist Hoodlum. Channel wise, Dante, the Lawgiver, also Spitfire I go by. So thank you guys.
Thanks for listening and have a good night, y'all.
And also fuck guys.
Buckeyes.